If your whole life was a struggle, had to make it out the jungle, this is a show for you. Welcome to the hustle. Under pressure, never break or fold. Keep chasing your goals until you blow. Now welcome to the hustle. Yeah, 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 yeah. Hustle, hustle, yeah. Hustle, hustle, yeah, yeah. Hustle.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Hustle Podcast. First and foremost, if you haven't noticed, Steve is back on the show.
Finally back, guys.
It's
Finally back.
Steve. We're happy to have you
Always
back.
behind the camera, finally sitting down on the chair again, guys.
Yeah, it's good to see you, brother. I feel like it's been a while. It hasn't been that long, but it's been.
I'm always here, but now
I
I'm
like
here.
the beard. You got the little beard coming in.
I'm trying.
to look exotic for your trip coming up. I like it, man. I like
Rica,
it,
baby.
Yeah, absolutely. Basics is in the building as well. Good to see you as always, Base.
What it do? We're outside, man. Hustle Podcast. Got to be back, man.
Yeah, absolutely. It is cold as hell outside,
It's disgusting.
but we made it happen. We made it happen. With no further ado, listen, Basics kind of stole my intro when he did the reel before, but I am going to kind of repeat a little bit of what you said. You know, we often tend to say that we have a special guest on the show, and all of our guests are special in their own right, I think. Yeah. I think that's fair to say. But today, ladies and gentlemen, I really want to emphasize, we really do have a special guest in the building here today. And as Basics alluded to on his reel, the word legend, okay? The word legend is something that gets thrown around a lot, especially in this city. There's a lot of people who are legends in their own minds. It's just a word that gets used a little bit too easily, in my opinion. Today, however, we do have a certified, bona fide Montreal legend in the building. I'm talking about a pioneer. I'm talking about somebody who's done more for the urban music scene in this city than just about anybody else that I could think of off the top of my head. So in case you're wondering who I'm talking about, we got Rickey D on the Hustle Podcast, ladies
Let's
and
go.
gentlemen.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Welcome.
It's a blessing to be here, man, fellas.
sir.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you for that
We really
introduction.
appreciate it. Yeah, you deserve it, bro. You deserve it.
Facts. Flowers need to be given when they can be smelt.
Thank you very much.
You know what I mean? That's important.
Thank you very much.
This episode's long overdue, but you're here, man.
It's a new year. Why not take it?
Yeah, I agree. Honestly, I reached out. I've been in podcasting and radio, roughly just about a little bit over a decade now. And you're somebody that I've been wanting to interview for a while. And I can't remember why it popped into my head, but I'm like, let me just send him a message and let's check his temperature a little bit.
Try it out.
And no, here we are, man. So again, thank you. I salute you for coming on. And we're very happy to have you, man. We got a lot of ground to cover.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Excited. Thank you for your time, man. You're
you
blessing us with the presence and with what you're about to give us.
Thank you for having me here, straight up. And, hey, when it's real hip-hop, I'm there.
That's a fact.
That's what it is.
I like it.
That's a fact.
I like it. I mean, with no further ado, let's get into this real hip
get
hop.
into it.
Let's get into this.
Yeah,
Let's get
'cause
into this.
We're all
hip-hop talk.
salivating, man. So, listen, I know you've been promoting, whether it's shows, parties, things of that
Yes.
nature, for over a quarter of a century.
Yeah.
Shout out to Mom Dukes, actually. She wanted me to say hello to you. My mother used to work at the McDonald's on Guy and St. Catherine.
Oh, wow.
And we're going back to probably the early 90s. And she was telling me that you would be out there hustling flyers back in the day, and she would come and bless you with a one free food here and there. So Mom Dukes wanted to say hello, but
that's nice.
It goes back a very, very long time. So I mean, I think that's a pretty good place to start. How did you kind of venture into what you're doing, into promoting? I mean, I'm sure it started on a street team level.
Yeah, well, how it happened for me is that my best friend grew up in little, city housing, Little Burgundy.
Yes.
The corner of Richmond and St. James, St. Jacques, it became. And he was a DJ. He didn't like handing out flyers. I couldn't rap. I couldn't sing. I couldn't dance. I couldn't do any of that stuff. But I wanted to be part of the culture, and I wanted to be part of it. So I decided to focus on the business side of things. And I started handing out flyers.
Wow.
For my friend, his name was him, and also for a guy named Fitz. So that's how it really began, just handing out flyers, walking with a stack of flyers every day, meeting different people, and just getting to know your city and your city getting to know you. So that's how I really, started to put my name in the game by just laying it down every day, walking with them in my knapsack, going to school, going to the different movie premieres, going to all the clubs, going to the clubs at 2:30 in the morning and hand out flyers till like 3:34, getting everybody in there, going to all the concerts that were going on that I wasn't involved in, but I would go to and I would hand out flyers there. And that's how I did it, just one person at a time.
Networking.
Just networking, just guerrilla networking, just, loving what I was doing, loving meeting new people and getting new experiences. Coming from Burgundy and not really knowing too many people outside of my community allowed me to meet the good, the bad, and the ugly along the way.
Yeah.
I can imagine.
So,
Boots to ground.
yeah. So it was a great introduction to the streets and above the streets. So that's how it worked out for me.
And also, I think that, for people who are a little bit younger listening, I don't think they realize how pivotal it was to actually physically get out there with physical flyers, because there was no social media. Like a lot of people from this generation, they don't realize that, like my sons, for example, they can't even imagine a world where there's no social media. They don't know what that reality is. You have to be outside and touch the people.
Yes.
Literally.
Yes. Back then we were working off of pagers.
Yeah.
Pagers were the big thing. Pagers,
Wow.
and we used to have the big cell
Big
phones.
brick phones, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, it took a lot of work to build it, but once you did it and people started to recognize your work and come to your events and see how well they were attended, it just got bigger and bigger and bigger, and the word just started to spread.
I'm curious to know which show was your first A-lister that you brought down?
Oh man, first one was like Run-DMC.
Run-DMC. Wow.
Yeah, and
Epic.
I was like sort of like a junior promoter on that, meaning that it was my man Gary T who was the one doing it. I was putting my name in there when it came to parties.
Okay.
I was doing parties first, and the parties were working for me. So then he approached me and asked me, "Would you be interested in doing concerts?" And I figured, if I can do parties, I can do concerts. It's the same thing in a way, because you just gotta go out there and introduce it to the people. So I was like, yeah, let's do this. So back then I used to get my tape recorder, and I used to make a cassette, and I would play the songs of the artists that we were gonna bring down, and I would loop them. And then I would put my tape recorder outside of, say, M-Tellus, which was back then Metropolis. And I would play the records of the artist, because a lot of times people don't know who the artist is. They know the record, but they don't know who it is. So when they're like, oh, yeah, I know that song, I'm going to come. So that's how I would do it, as I was handing out flyers, giving them to people as they're leaving, and it worked. And I would continue to do that, and eventually from cassettes, we went to CDs, and then we started burning our own CDs and looping the records in there of the artists, whatever popular records they had at that moment, and that's how it began.
It sounds like there wasn't necessarily an architecture. You kind of didn't have a blueprint to follow.
Absolutely
and
not.
you kind of had to, what I'm hearing from the original stories with the DJ and the parties, etc., was you getting out there and learning to deal with the word no.
We were encountering problems also with artists, because we didn't understand a criminal record, can't get across
crossing
the
the border. That was definitely a question that was coming up. Yeah.
Just didn't know what that was all about. Yeah. We didn't have anybody schooling us back then, you know what I mean? Back then you had Donald K. Donald. And
wow, I haven't heard that.
They were they were the big boys, and they really didn't deal with the streets. They weren't interested in hip hop and all of that, right? And reggae and all of that. They had no time for that. They were pop. You know what I mean?
But I mean, also at that time too, I feel like hip hop definitely wasn't what it is today either, right? I was
gonna say, there was
it wasn't
still a
exactly a
stigma.
subgenre. It was starting to bubble a lot. It was getting the mainstream exposure, but it wasn't anywhere near what it was today, especially in Montreal.
Yeah, well, Montreal had it. We had Club 980, which was a show that my man Butcher T was the DJ for, with a guy named Mike Williams, who later became the first VJ at Much Music in Toronto. But he started here. He was from Cleveland, and he started a show on AM, because when I first started, AM radio was popping. FM was just starting to come into its own. It was a new thing. And so he had a radio show on there, which was extremely popular. It was actually the first commercial radio hip hop R&B show in Canada.
Wow.
For real, huh?
Yeah, early 80s.
Out of Montreal.
Out of Montreal.
Historical stuff, right there.
Yeah.
Like,
It
It's called
is.
Club 980.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it started here.
You would never think.
Yeah.
No, that's
You would never-
mind-boggling,
yeah, you would
because
never
even
think.
nowadays when we look at the scene, it's something that's been discussed for so long. Like, why doesn't Montreal have a hip-hop radio station? Because anytime I'm in one of the major cities in the States, one of the great things about driving around is I can just turn on the radio, find a hip-hop radio station, and that's all I'm hearing.
Every city has a hot 90 something, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I think on that episode we had with Luigi on the Go, he enlightened us a lot about how rap was super bubbling in the 90s here in Montreal, and then started fizzling out because of the whole language.
Well, you see what happened is that the powers that be were able to control radio to the point that they didn't allow hip hop to get on. They barely allowed R&B. And when it was R&B, it was more pop R&B like Gladys Knights and Roberta Flack and these kind of R&B artists. Al Green, these kind of guys. Stevie Wonder. It wasn't, the Teddy Rileys and all these guys. They weren't.
It was nothing that was
been-
pushing the envelope.
No. There was nothing street about that. It was super commercial, safe.
Yeah.
And by doing so, they literally blocked the evolution of hip hop in Montreal, because guys didn't have the opportunity to graduate to another level, because there wasn't another level to go to. There was a glass ceiling.
You mean like venue-wise?
No, not just venue-wise, radio-wise, right?
everything.
You got to remember, right? In order to build a successful elevation in the music culture, you needed radio at that time. And I'm not talking community radio like the CKUTs, the CIBLs, that kind of thing. I'm talking major radio. You needed that, but by them stifling it, it stayed an underground phenomenon.
Yeah.
But by doing that, certain guys who had the capabilities of elevating their game didn't break through. And, you would get a few like the Dumb-Mad-Tigs, Muzayan, and these guys, but a lot of other guys who could have had the opportunity weren't given the accessibility to commercial radio, because the guys who were controlling it were dance DJs. They were rock programmers. And they didn't want to change their formats because it meant that they would have to either learn a new format, or they would have to give up their job to somebody else who was going to come in there and play that music and play right. So there was basically, it was like a cartel. So they created this glass ceiling where guys couldn't elevate, especially, and that's what you needed, right? When you look at, I'm going to say his name, but when you look at Puffy and that's how he did it, right? Remember, he was a promoter like
100%.
myself.
There's a lot of parallels there. Hopefully not too many, but there's a lot of parallels there.
Right?
Get the
So that's how he did it. And then because he was close to the streets, you know, he was meeting the Mary J. Bliges and he was meeting the Jodeci's and Craig Max and all of these guys who were on the streets ready to erupt. Yeah. But they had the ability to graduate to the next level. And they had commercial radio behind them. All they needed was an opportunity to put the records and have the records go to market. Didn't have that here.
Get that stamp of approval, proof of concept.
So you know, so now, and then, you know, once you do that, and now people get a taste of that money, when I'm talking like, you know, the industry, then the doors start to open up more and more and more. But in the case of here, they never allowed the doors open. They opened more in Toronto than they did here.
Yeah.
And this is why you have certain guys coming out of Toronto that became successful. Yeah. That were local, you know, and I don't consider a Drake being local.
Yeah, no.
Or a Justin Bieber or even a Tory Lanez.
This is what I was thinking when you said local. I was thinking pre-Drake. I was thinking of the Choclairs of the world, the Socrates, the Cardis.
Even Cardi, of course.
Yes.
You know what I mean? The Rascals from Vancouver, like that whole side of Canadian hip hop.
You know, and that's what ended up happening. Even though you had a lot of talent here, a lot of talented individuals, both in English and in French, there was no lane available to them. And that it was very difficult to see that and painful. It was painful too.
And was that really language based, or was the division because there's French and English that you were mentioning, artists that had that potential or that possibility? Was it more a cultural, I don't want to say financial thing, but it was both.
It was both language and it was both cultural. And what do I mean by that? Language? Because first of all, the Anglophone rapper had no lane. No lane.
Some would argue they still don't.
Yeah.
You know? Obviously there's internet, but aside from that.
No. They had no lane, you know. The French-Canadian rapper had more potential in this market, and the only reason why is because you had the French media was willing to accept them a little bit more because they realized that they cannot exist outside of Quebec. You know, you got little pockets in Winnipeg, you got little pockets in New Brunswick, in Vancouver, of French Canadians out there, but you know the majority of them are here. So they would open up the doors a bit in order to give a few select ones the opportunity to make a few dollars within the industry. But that door was highly controlled and regimented that you didn't see too many guys coming through those doors, and not too often. So where the Anglophone rapper basically had nobody to champion their thing because they didn't have radio. You know, the Mix 96s of the world, they didn't play it. They didn't want to play it. They would play a Puffy record if it was super popular, and they had no choice because it was charted, and the record labels that were controlling that were basically pushing it down their throats. And basically, like I remember one time with an artist, and they Warner Music went to this radio station and threatened them to play the record. They didn't play it. And they said, if you don't play it, we're not going to give you the Madonna new record.
Leverage.
Wow.
Right? So they played it because they wanted to. They
needed the Madonna
access
record.
to it. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's power.
Yep.
But again, you know, how many of those artists actually made it true? You know, you got to look at also too, you know, population-wise, you know, the States, 300 million, Canada, 30 million.
In Quebec, how many?
Yeah, a couple of million.
Anglos and
Yeah. So from an Anglophone perspective, we had a lot of extremely talented people here, both in writing and engineering and production, and in performance and rapping. But they just didn't have that lane.
The infrastructure was missing.
Yeah, what they needed was the next level. So now what would happen is that if they were able to get on commercial radio, then there'd be a demand for them. If there's a demand for them, then concerts are coming. Now I go and I book you on a concert, and I'm guaranteed to get my money back and maybe even get a profit. And there weren't many artists at that level who were willing to put the money out themselves in order to take that risk. Yeah. So, who's going to go out there and take that risk? Right? And lose their shirt on it. So that's what kind of happened along the way in Quebec when it came to the Anglophone rappers here. You either had to leave here, go to Toronto, or go to the States, or go to Europe if you're going to put your name in the game.
To some degree, it feels like that's still the case, even with the level of accessibility that the internet has provided artists. I feel like there's still, especially for the Anglophone side of this culture, that there's still so many hurdles, obstacles, gates in the way.
Yeah, well, you're always going to get those gates. You're always going to, the reality of it is now I feel that instead of, the market's too wide open. The way I look at it, metaphorically speaking, it's like looking into a fridge. I'm hungry. If there's 2-3 things in the fridge, well, I'm going to eat one of those 3 things. But if I open that fridge and that fridge is packed, maybe I'll take a little bit of this. Yeah. Maybe I take a little bit of that. Maybe I touch none of that and I just go to my true blue thing that I like and eat only that, even though there's all this other great stuff.
That's an interesting way to look at it.
That is a very interesting way to look at it.
There's too much selection out there to the point that you get drowned in the selection. Yep. So, people say, oh, the internet opened it up, there's great opportunities. Yeah, okay, yeah, there is. But what happens is that it gets to a point of oversaturation that, you see, where back in the day, the labels had control over that. So if you truly made it out and got a deal, there was a very strong possibility that you could have become a success. Where now, what's the deal?
Mm-hmm. Mostly 360s at this point.
If you even get that. Yeah. Labels don't want to put marketing dollars. They want you to do
they want you to show up with the numbers already in place.
Yeah, for sure. They want to throw gas on a fire that's already going. That's it. They don't want to create a spark or.
Why is that? Because it's hard to predict now who can bust and who won't bust.
Well, here in the city, like we know that it's the French majority that's really popping, and you've worked with a number of artists throughout your years. Right now, you're working with Roger, I think.
Yeah.
Those concerts that you're doing, you get club soda, you're able to take the shows on the road. Like, what's the experience of working with that type of artist?
Like, honestly, tell you the truth, right now, real talk, they're all crying.
Oh, wow. Elaborate.
They're not doing well. People are not coming to the shows. They're giving away a lot of free tickets. They're doing a lot of 2-for-1. They're not getting the business done. And the reason why, again, because of an oversaturation. And like I've said, right, today back in the day it was here today.
Gone tomorrow.
Gone tomorrow. Well, guess what? Now it's here today, gone today. That's
a real.
you see it
Bro.
all the time,
Yep.
right? As quick as they come in, is as quick as they're gone. Okay, because the like for example, I would sit up there with my son. He's 25 years old, and he doesn't even listen to a 4-minute record. By 2 minutes, switch. 2 minutes. And that's pretty much on every record.
Yeah.
Agreed.
It's the magic.
Where me,
timeline.
I listen to the 4 minutes.
Yeah.
So that means that their minds are at a point that they're adapting and moving on very quickly into the next record.
100%.
So, you know, guys like Roger and them have to fight every day to keep themselves relevant because there's another kid coming up that's
So
ready to yam your food.
it's the replaceability factor
Of course.
But
of that consumer choice
course.
paralysis by analysis of what's next that I can consume.
But is the saturation the internet's problem? Like, did the internet create the saturation, or was it a bunch of these labels that are popping up right now and they're like trying to take advantage of?
Them labels ain't taking advantage of shit. There ain't nothing to take advantage of.
So it's the internet, I would say, that
Well, of course,
gives everybody the platform to be out
The internet
there.
is the Pandora box.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you have to look at it too, just from a recording standpoint. Like back when I came in, which was early 2000s, like even back then, of course, there was home setups and stuff like that. But for the most part, you had to go rent time in a physical studio if you wanted to record music. My son, who's slowly kind of developing an interest in music, I already have a studio at my house that I built myself for like $1,200. You
And
know what I
even,
mean? So
even
the-
more so, a lot of these kids that I work with, they have Bandcamp on their phone.
That's what I'm saying. So
and they
it's-
have like they have stuff where they can record. They have AI to help mix and master.
even
It's like
write
we're in a
the music.
totally-
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Like
it's a
we've
totally-
entered a
So
completely
is it,
different
is it
age,
a
yeah.
quality question, or is it a quality problem, or is it a replaceability problem at the end
It's
of the day?
it's an oversaturation of the market, and when anytime, you know, it's like back in the day, if you got through, it's because you were either extremely lucky, extremely gifted, or both. Timing and everything else. Now, I've seen a lot of talented people sitting up there wondering why can't they get the shot. And it's because you got 20 other motherfuckers that are trying to get in the lane too.
Yep.
So it's no longer, it's my turn. It's like, it's a doggy dog. And a lot of these guys, they're out there. I'm watching, man. I'm checking out the youngins, man, and I'm seeing what they're doing, man. A lot of them are talented and they're gifted, but the reality of it, there's only so many, seats at the table, man.
Yeah, it's a fact.
Right? And if you even get up to go to the bathroom, your chair's gone. It's like musical chairs.
Yeah, there's
They're just, it's gone.
But
So-
also that, like I think also from like an artist standpoint, I think the focus too is starting to shift a little bit away from the music, more towards being like an internet personality along with the music. You can't just be a dope artist anymore. Now you have to have this whole internet persona that goes along with it in order to kind of get that viral traction. I feel like the music's not enough anymore. I don't feel like.
It's hard to get, first of all, if you're in Montreal, you're in Canada, you're always one step back, 2 steps back from the Americans.
Yeah.
That's the first thing. If you really want to make it in that business, what I've suggested people, and I'll tell you, and this is a treat for your
Please do.
fans.
Yes.
Right? I would get myself a VPN, and I'd make it seem like I'm coming from the States, because if you're coming from the States, you basically have the potential to broadcast to 300 million people. So you're hitting 10 times the market.
Numbers.
Numbers.
It's a numbers game.
It's all a numbers game. If you're here, you're hitting 30 million. A person gets 3,000 followers here, might be the equivalent of 3 million over there. But that 3 million will get people calling you to offer you things. We hear that 3,000 ain't getting you shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
You're just going through a cash burn and you're just burning money, right? And it's not really equating to it. If you're not passionate about it and doing it for the love of doing it, hey man, it's gonna be a long road.
Might want to reassess. Might want to reassess.
I'm just, I'm not trying to be a naysayer. I'm not trying to be negative.
No, of course not.
I'm just breaking down what I see. There's a lot of great artists out there that are doing great music and have great potentials. But the reality of it is that who you doing it for? You better be doing it for yourself, and you better not have any expectations, and you better have a fucking day job.
That's a fact.
Because at the end of the day, pimping ain't easy.
Talk to him.
Ain't paying the bills over here, that's for sure.
You know what I mean?
It's hard out here for a pimp when you're trying to get the money for the rent.
You know what I mean? So you need to step up your A game and do that. And if you really think that you're that talented, then you got to go to Rome. And what do I mean by Rome? If you want to be a Roman, you got to go to Rome. You want to be a rapper, you got to go to the States.
Right. Where it's at, man.
You got to go down there and try to put your name in the game down there and hope that somebody recognizes and wants to fuck with you because they think you might have that secret sauce that'll get them 1 million followers on their Instagram, right?
Yep.
And this is where it's at, and the days of the fake bots and all of that shit is over because a lot of these labels, a lot of the streaming services figured that shit out real quick.
Yeah, I got exposed,
right?
A lot of stuff. You go to the socials, you see people that have 15,000 followers on Instagram and they get 10 comments.
Right.
It's like something's not adding up here.
Right.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are just like voyeurs. They just come, they click on your likes and they watch. At one time when I used to sit up there and do, like when Facebook first came out and you would create an event and you would have 500 people saying they're coming.
Yep.
Well, you pretty much got 500 people coming to your event. Try that now.
Yeah, nowadays it's
We have tried it.
Might be interested.
We have tried it.
It's very funny that you
Multiple
say that
times.
because I wanted to ask you, about this whole internet, etc. Tell me about the landscape pre and post COVID, and how that transition affected the landscape, the culture, people coming out to venues, people coming out to shows. Because that happens to me all the time. I'll click going on things. I'm not going.
Right.
I'm not coming outside right now. I'm clicking going on it.
You see, well,
And I feel like I was doing that way less prior.
Right, because your intent was there. Now you're so oversaturated that you just do it just for the sake of, not because your heart is into it. And that's because there's just too many things going on that occupies your time. So, you become kind of like a gatekeeper of your time. And even though you'll put, I'm going, you're really not going. Where at one time you would have did that, and it's because there was less things in the market. So if it truly got you to click, I'm going, you were going. Now you're not going anymore. And that's what's happening right now. So, a lot of the newer generation that's coming out, it's tough for them because, the competition is fierce.
Yeah.
They're all fighting for crumbs. Very few are making money in the business. At one time, everybody was making money. The producers, the promoters, the writers, the video guys. Everybody was making money. Now they're not. So, look, for example, you guys do this show, you put in hundreds of hours.
Yeah.
That maybe thousands of hours. Yeah. And you want to, you do this, why? Because you like the culture, you like the music. It's definitely not for the money.
No, you got that right.
You know what I'm saying?
You hit the nail right with that.
So because of that, you do what you do. You're trying to build some sort of familiarity with you in this market. The reality of it is that at one time, if you would have done this kind of business as a podcaster, you would have broadcast towards the world. But what's happened is that they've shut down the algorithms and they don't allow you to go really outside of your hood. So you're basically in a captive market in Canada. So this is why when you look at a lot of the people that are coming out of Canada, there's very few of them that have actually transcended out of over 500,000 followers on whatever they're doing. Because there's no access to those kind of people. And everybody's fighting for the same person's attention. So in order to do this, now it's like shooting crap. You shoot it, and hopefully you're lucky enough and blessed enough that your platform, whatever it may be, can really reach out there. So that's what's going on. So now in the world, in my world now, doing shows, at one moment it was really good because COVID forced people to stay home. People stayed home. They came out. They got hungry. They wanted to interact with people. They wanted to be around people. So there was a resurgence.
Renaissance.
Right, but that didn't last long.
Look, I think the economy is to blame as well, right?
Well, yeah.
A lot of people can't afford to go out to these shows and pay $15 cocktails or beers or whatever it is.
Right. So, but again, a lot of that is dictated by the media. The media sits there and makes you think about what you're doing. Right? And one time you would have, said, okay, I'm going to take my last $20, I'm going to go out, because I know in 2 weeks I'm going to get that $20 back. Now, some people don't know they're going to get that $20 back, so they hold on to their grip, right? And it's there's so many different reasons to this outside of what we're doing today that makes the economy what it is. But a lot of it is them basically, playing with your mind and making you grip your cash to the point that you don't want to do anything anymore.
You're fear-mongering.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. And that's part of what you see today going on, right?
Yeah, it's a huge change in almost all entertainment content. Even if you look at the movie theater experience, people don't go to the movie theaters like they did prior to COVID or even 10 years back or et cetera, because there's so many things at home. And at home, a 2.5 hour movie, I can pause. I can go to the bathroom. I can get a snack. I don't have that same level.
Plus, I'm sitting on the couch in my drawers, bro.
We're in a way, we're missing out on the tangible experience of going out and getting that experience of getting dressed, going to the show, going early, meeting up with people, getting a drink before.
Well, I mean, look, man, a lot of people are of the thinking that besides being a virus, that COVID really was just a reconditioning experiment for the entire planet. And it did. It reconditioned the way we do everything, the way we interact with each other, the way we consume media.
Exactly.
It was all affected. And we're seeing the remnants of that now.
Yeah.
How does that kind of come into effect? Because obviously you're still in the game. So, I mean, how have you had to pivot in terms of the way that you do business to kind of make up for that?
Well, like I said before, it's hard to teach an old dog a new trick.
Yeah.
This is what I know. I have to be very careful on what I mess with. Now it's gotten to a point where everything is artist driven. Back when I was growing up, you had different avenues of marketing. You know, I could take it to the radio. I can go to the local newspapers like the Montreal Hour. These were the different weekly.
Yeah, I remember the mirrors in the metros
right,
that
all
used
of
to.
that.
Yeah,
You had that. You had flyers. Then the internet started to come, so you had a bit of an email blast going on. You know, so you had all these different avenues, and these different avenues allowed you to draw people from different elements. Now you're basically a slave to social media, and you know you click, and then you wait to see. It's very artist driven now. So, for example, Ghostface Killer's supposed to come here this weekend. Show's canceled.
Oh no.
The reason why it's canceled, oversaturation in the market. People have seen him enough times here. They're not interested in seeing him. His base here in Montreal is played out for now because there's no demand for him. So he wasn't selling tickets. The show got canceled. Not good for the industry. Because then the fan who really truly wants to see him is now discouraged. Because now they can't see the guy that they're ready to see. Even though there was a few people that were willing to pay the dime to see him.
Yeah.
So, you know, and you see that often. So a lot of these shows are artist driven. It all depends on the fans' interaction with the artists and how much they want to see the artist. But now, because artists are not making money on CD sales, they're not making money on vinyl, cassettes, they're hardly making money on publishing. The only two places that they're making money on is touring and merchandise. If you tour too much, you lose the interest of the public. And that's what you're seeing here with a lot of Quebec rappers. Because they can't break into the overseas market because their style of rapping and the way that they speak in French is not appealing to the European Francophone. And, you know, okay, yeah, you're close to America, you're next to America, you picked up on their styles and everything, but nah.
it still feels and tastes
Inauthentic.
foreign.
Because
It
what's happening now, with the introduction of the Arab community, and the introduction of the African community, and I'm talking Francophone, they come in with more of a hardened approach to the type of rap music they like. So they're going to bring in their people that they're used to overseas. So when you hear a Quebecois rapper, they're not interested in that. But yet they push a lot of the direction of where the music is going to because they're aggressive into the music. So now what happens? The white Anglophone, the Jamaican, the Nova Scotian, they all get pushed to the side because that's what they're into. So they're going to push for the Funky Family and I Am and these kind of groups to come down because that's where they come from and that's what they're used to listening to. And it has nothing to do, it's just what they're used to. They in turn encourage the white Francophone kid to go that way too. The only person that is really getting the business done, still to this day, God knows how long that'll be, is Soulja.
Yeah.
He's the only one that's really making, you know. Guys like Lost and
I was gonna ask you about Loud. as well.
Loud, and these guys, they've all fallen off the cliff. And then when they've gone to Europe, the Europeans are not giving them real access to the market. Sure, you can book your shows, you could do your thing, but at the end of the day, when there's nobody in there, they're laughing. The reason why they're laughing is because they know. So the only one really out of all of them that's made some noise down there is it's been Roche, and even then it's an uphill battle because you know there's people here who are not happy about his success over there and want to make sure that his success over there doesn't translate back home.
Wow.
Because they want to keep back home for them.
It's a dog-eat-dog world, huh?
So they
It's
can't.
protective. There's like a vested interest in.
They can't get over there.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh yeah, okay, you're over there in France, you're getting your business done over there, but over here is for us.
Yeah.
They're seizing control while he's gone, you know?
You know what I'm saying? They're trying to hold him back a bit because they don't want him to be a success there and a success here.
So
Yeah, you
denied
can have over there.
accessibility.
Stay over there, that's cool.
Yeah.
You know, good. Over here is for us.
But speaking of rappers in France and everything, you have Enema doing, he's doing his thing in France, no?
What is he doing?
I don't know. I saw he had some big show recently.
Right.
Could be optics.
But again, right? Enema is different, and the reason why he's different, he's not overexposed. How many shows has Enema ever done? So there's a real demand to see him perform live, not only for his fans, but for the curiosity seekers
Solid point.
that really want to see, you know.
Who is this guy behind the numbers that we're seeing?
Right,
Yeah.
and can he really perform the way we think he might? So they're going to come on and check him. And you know what I mean? His first few shows are going to be massive.
Curiosity.
Now, can he maintain that? That's the key. That's the key. Can he contain and maintain that energy and that curiosity factor? Maybe he can, maybe he cannot. We're going to see on that. He can't come back to Canada.
Exactly.
So, you know, right there, his biggest market is Quebec, and he can't even perform here.
Set foot. Yeah.
So, you know, he's doing some business over there, but it's going to get to a point where
There's a ceiling
you know
automatically
what I mean?
built
People
in.
are eventually, you know, the guys think about it. Enema has been out there how long now?
Years.
Yeah.
10 years?
At least. Yeah.
Some
Okay. So
pre-COVID for sure.
Yeah. 100%.
so his fans are maturing. They might not be listening to hip hop the way they listened to it before. Right? Or they might be into another artist. And then the younger generation, they're looking for the next Enema.
Yeah, they're looking for the young boy.
Yeah.
That's right. They're looking for somebody that looks exactly like them.
Yep.
Yeah.
They ain't looking for the old head.
Yeah, they don't want no gray in the beard,
Yeah,
bro. That shit ain't gonna work.
If we're gonna go back to Ghostface Killer coming to do a show that got canceled, it goes back to that. I don't think any of these people that were listening to Ghostface back in the day want to go out and watch a concert at
I
50,
surely don't.
60 years old. I know I don't want to go see boom bap rap anymore. At this point, it has to be really special for me to go out.
Well, yeah. Well, again, that's what it takes in this market because the market is not that big. We have more of a French rap market now because of the introduction of the Arab community and the African community into the market, who has pushed the narrative of that type of.
That's really
Wow.
interesting. I never thought of it from the standpoint of like the demographics of the physical demographics of the city changing in terms of what the makeup of the city looks like and how that affected me. I never thought of that.
Speaking of
Definitely.
demographics, you mentioned the African, Arab, the Latinos are really like taking over the city right now. What's your take on that?
Well, I don't think they're taking over anything because they don't have the population to support that. They're not having the amount of kids. You know what I mean? Like you tell me the last time you seen a Latino immigration into Montreal, into Canada.
Well, I think it's the last 5 years we had over 20 or 30,000 Mexican, Colombians. And
Right, but a lot of them got sent back because of all the rhetoric that's going on. They're spread out across Canada, and that's 20,000. When the others are coming in there hundreds of thousands.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
It's nothing
So,
compared to that.
like,
one thing that I could see is that 5 years ago we didn't have any of these Latino shows. There was no Fuego Fuego. There wasn't any of this stuff. You know what I mean?
There
And
was-
then it just sort of like morphed out of nowhere. And
The reason why you didn't have it is because the Latinos were not interested in putting that kind of money out. But I'll give you an example. I went to see Bad Bunny at Olympia, and he was a $250 ticket, and he was sold out. So they're willing to pay top dollar to see their artists here. What you might think is Latino could be a mixture of Latino and French Canadian mixing together and blending, because a lot of Latinos get down with the French Canadians.
Absolutely.
So
very
what
true.
you might think is one when it's really the other, you know? So, but the Latinos are not pushing it like how these other kids are with the people around them. And because of that, it's changing the taste. When we were growing up, the average French Canadian was listening to a lot more American rap. So you could bring artists that you would be, you know, and a lot of them, they don't even know who they are now because they're listening
Their own shit.
their own
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah, facts.
Yeah,
So-
rap cab has
so-
become a much
so-
more insulated,
Yes.
like bubble, but it's very supporting. It's very self-supporting of itself.
Yeah. Yeah. So by doing so, now you limit the amount of people. So, you know, the Shreves and the Enemas and that, you know, and the Lost and the Louds and the Rhymes and all these other guys who are truly deserving of a fan base and so forth, you know, among others, you know, not to single them out.
Yeah, we
because
can't
they're
name
all-
everybody.
Yeah, but, you know, they're all struggling in order to maintain, right? And these labels, a lot of these labels were moving on the fact that they were getting government assistance,
Yeah.
getting the government grants. So if they can't get a government grant for you, they ain't fucking with you.
How does that this dichotomy that you're explaining? How does that dictate who? Because you said earlier you got to be a lot more careful what you're getting involved with, and you're privy to the back end logistics. You're seeing the actual numbers behind the situation. How is this knowledge dictating the kind of artists that you're trying to bring in, the out of town acts that you're trying to bring up here? I'm gonna get involved with this Ghostface show as opposed to this Far Side show, or, you know, to pick random artists. But
Well, you know, when I first started out in hip hop, the powers that be, they weren't interested in the music
Right.
because it was too volatile. It was too dangerous. That, you know, first of all, their kids weren't allowed to go.
there's going to be a shooting at the show. or
Right.
something.
So, you know, a lot of that music grew up in the black communities. The white kids that would come were those who were the cool ones, the ones who were willing to leave the suburbs and come and fuck with it, right? Because they were just progressive in terms of what they were into. and the suburbs didn't have what they wanted. They wanted something a little bit harder, a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more progressive. So they would come into these markets. And then eventually, as the music became more and more popular, it started to reach a bigger base of people, especially white kids. So when it started to hit the white kids, a lot of those white kids have parents that work at Donald K. Donald, Evenco, Just for Laughs. You know what I mean?
Jazz
and
Fest,
those
et
kids
cetera.
would say, "Mommy, Daddy, when are you gonna do Jay-Z?" Jay-Z. Okay, let me look into it, son. Let me look into it, daughter. And then they started to look into it more. Once guys like myself cleaned up the streets and cleaned up the music, that's when they moved in. Because at the end of the day, if you're an agency, say in New York or Beverly Hills, and I'm selling you 200 shows a year, my rock, my pop, my disco, my country, and now I want to give you my hip hop. And you would say, okay, no, I don't want that. So you would have to fuck with me because I'm the only one who would take that. So imagine now you have a routing and you're routing different cities and you need Montreal because you got to go from Boston to Toronto.
Yeah, you need that stop.
You need that stop in the middle in order to make sense logistically and money-wise. But back then, the majors didn't want to fuck with it because it was too dangerous for them.
Monetarily.
No, not even monetarily. It's just too dangerous.
For the image. It was
The
like a liability.
image.
Yeah, okay.
You know what I mean? You know, you want to go and do these shows, somebody gets shot at, gets stabbed,
Yeah.
or the potential's there. It doesn't mean it's going to happen, but just the thought of it. Police are going to be busting your balls. Why are you doing these shows? We're going to give you a hard time now.
We had our
you
own
make-
experience
you-
with that. Everybody.
Yeah, you're making
all
millions
the
of
bars.
dollars. Well, why you want the fucking headache?
Yep.
Let somebody else go and grab that bag. And that's where we would get the calls. Hey, we got this show. We got the Eminem. We got the Roots. We got Mos Def. We got, and we would get those calls. When we cleaned up the game and solved the street problems, and managed to take the drama out of the venues and put it up in their neighborhoods, that's when they came in and they took it over.
Yeah, you did all the dirty
So
work.
guys like myself who are supposed to be caking out, supposed to get rich off of this because we put the sweat equity in.
You put the legwork in, literally.
And
Blood,
took
sweat,
the,
and
took the
tears,
lumps, took the lumps.
Yeah.
On top of that, right, both financially and physically, you know, people come to your concerts and maybe got shot up, got stabbed, got trampled, bum rushed, right? But they didn't have all of that. But the agent always wanted to give them it because they were buying all their other shows.
Right.
So it's only natural to want to give them that too. But you know what I mean? But they didn't want it because it carried too much weight. So they left it. So guys like me were eating because we were the ones who was willing to take the bullshit.
It's fascinating.
Because that was the only game. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, you
So basically to
feed
like
the dog, right?
Yeah.
Feed the dog.
to like clarify, so you have these agents, these booking agents, obviously, right, that are booking all of these shows across different genres throughout the year, and they're offering it to certain people in the city that are just not willing to fuck with it because of the corporate image and whatever the case may be. And here's Rickey D on the side that says, "I'll take it,
Right.
I'll take it," right? So I said at the top of the show that, like, number one, the word legend gets thrown around way too easily. But number two, I don't think that people, and now I'm talking about the artists in this city, I don't think that people really have a true understanding, and I hope that this episode could kind of, shine a little bit of light on that. But I don't think they have a true understanding of exactly how much you've done for the music scene, especially the urban music scene in this city. I don't think you get the credit you deserve, unfortunately, and I mean that respectfully, and I want to give you that credit. But it's hearing all of these stories is like, usually we talk a lot more on this podcast, and right now I'm just finding myself listening because it's like we're learning so much, and I think that people, especially the people who are involved on the scene, need to know these things and need to give you the respect that you deserve. And I say that to say this, because one of the major conversations I wanted to have with you here today, from the promoter, and I messaged you about this, and I think the message I sent you, this was the hook that might have got you interested in coming on the show here today. I wanted to give you the opportunity to tell you kind of the story from the standpoint of the promoter. Now, let me preface it with this, right? Like I said, I came in the game somewhere in the early 2000s. Bass has been doing his thing for a long time. Steve too. And the conversation that was always taking place among artist circles in this city, amongst rappers, producers, was that the reason why English rappers were, no English rapper ever bust through that ceiling and made it to a certain next level, if you will, it was never our fault. It was always your fault. It was always the promoter's fault, because the promoter wasn't putting these artists on the shows when, he's choosing to put this guy as an opener, but he should be really putting this guy as an opener because, But and honestly, I'll be honest with you, I'm guilty. When I was younger, with 16, 17-year-old me, I felt that way too. I'm the illest and I should be opening, he's hating on us right now. When the reality is, okay, and I want you to elaborate on this. I know this was kind of long-winded, but I want you to elaborate on this, is that the way I look at it now, with the wisdom that I have, having tried to book a couple shows with Steve, and we put our little hat in the ring for that too for a little minute, is that, look, here's the reality to the artists, right? Rickey D is, first of all, let's just say French Montana as an example. You're bringing French Montana down to Montreal. He's going to perform at Club Soda. Number one, I don't think artists realize that he's not coming here for free, right? He's not coming to Montreal for free. So you're putting up your own money to bring this artist down. I'm gonna smack it on the table. You're bringing your own money. You're putting your own money up to bring these artists down. Now, obviously, as a promoter, this is a business. We're not in the business of handing out favors. We're not in the business of giving away freebies.
I believe they call it the music industry.
Exactly. So I think what artists don't understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think what artists don't understand is that if you as an artist cannot generate the demand, right, to bring 50 people to a venue, to bring 75 people to a venue, and justify the promoter putting you on his bill and making this is going to be the key word, guys, for the real too, Steve, a return on his investment. Okay, if you cannot guarantee a return of investment for the promoter, why is he going to put you on the show for free?
So, to break it down to you, you're absolutely right. You got to remember, right? It's called show business. Without the business, there's no show, and without the show, there's no business. So you need to have a perfect marriage of both of them in order for you to be successful. A lot of times, depending on the artist that we're dealing with, especially American artists, a lot of times we're not allowed to put anybody on it, depending on the level of the artist. The artist wants to maintain an exclusivity on their platform because they're the ones who are bringing down the people. Like I told you, it's artist driven. Okay. If I'm dealing with a Mos Def, and Mos Def doesn't want anybody on the stage other than who he deems.
Yeah, who's touring with.
Right. Who's either touring with him. The only time that they will allow you to put somebody on the stage when they reach a certain plateau in terms of popularity is if the show's not selling well.
Okay.
And now they're hoping that Artist X, opening act X, has the ability to bring in more people in the room and therefore help the promoter and help the artist make the money that it costs in order to produce the show. If the show is doing well, they don't want anybody on it. because they rather have the smoke to themselves. But if they realize that the show's not doing well, they have no choice. Now they open it up and they'll allow guys like myself to go and bring on X, Y, or Z. Sometimes you look at the artists and you say lyrically, artistically, they suck.
Sonically, it doesn't make
They-
sense.
they
with the-
suck.
But he's
They-
gonna bring people to the venue though.
He's going to bring people to the venue, and because you're bounded by that, by the agent who takes his instructions from the artist management,
Wow.
this is what ends up happening. Certain artists don't give a fuck. Like, for example, nobody in the Wu-Tang Clan gives a fuck. You put whoever the hell you want, I don't give a fuck. But there's certain artists, nah, man. You think you do a Big Sean show or you do a Future show and you're just going to go and take somebody you want to put on there? Nah, man, that don't work. And you can't tell them, they'll say, you know what, I ain't fucking coming. And I'm keeping your deposit too.
Wow.
So you're at it. So what are you going to do? You know what I mean? You can only think you're strong, but you're only strong in your mind. That's it. So, a lot of times, guys like myself are controlled. And even if I want to push back, you always got the Venkos of the world willing to sit up there and take your spot.
Yeah,
The
Right.
plot thickens.
So,
Rothschild.
so
It is. No, it is.
you can't just, think, well, you know what, fuck you, I'm going to do what I got to do. This is the thing, I'm the one paying the dime, I'm the one. Yeah, okay, no problem.
Go through.
I've
different
had
door.
a show in the past taken away from me because the agent, William Morris was the agency, did not like the projections that I created and took the show away from me and gave it to Evenko.
Wow.
And because I had a relationship with Evenko, Evenko kept me in. And the only reason why they kept me in is because the guys who are in upper management are street guys who come from the indie concert culture. So they understand what it is. They're not corporate in the suits, went to this school and learned this. They're guys who did ska reggae or, they did indie rock and, and they built up these small independent concert booking companies. And because of that, they're a little bit more sensitive to the needs of the independent promoter. Whereas if they weren't there, they would just push you aside.
Yeah, the
and-
conglomerate would just
Yeah.
do what the conglomerate
yeah,
does.
it does. And you wouldn't even see that. So a lot of times that's what happens with us. We're controlled. But again, it depends on artists. If I'm doing somebody like Boot Camp Click, nobody
more liberty
cares.
there,
I'm bringing Onyx. Nobody gives a fuck. Right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, getting into the black and making sure the
Yeah,
back
but
end
if
is
you're gonna go
available.
for like more of a current artist, you want to bring the Kendrick Lamars and all, forget about it. You're not getting anybody on there. And even if you don't go for somebody like that, but somebody's on the come up, nah. You want to bring Nas? No. You can't put who you want to put on there because he's too big. And they don't want people to come on and fuck up their platform.
Right. Tarnish the show even
Right.
to a degree.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Unless the tickets are not selling.
Wow.
That's so.
Then-
that's
then-
so interesting.
And then they turn around and they say, yeah, okay, bring them on.
But see, that's why I wanted to have this conversation, because as artists, like, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
go
cut
ahead.
you off, but like as artists, we don't think about all of these intricacies, right? From the artist, listen, and you've been dealing with artists for over a quarter century, so you're very well aware, Ricky. But like as artists, it's like we're just thinking of ourselves in the moment and what, but I'm doper than every other opening act in the city, and how come he's hating on me specifically? No, he's not. And like we don't think of all of these intricate things. That's why I thought it was so important to have this conversation with you, because I want the artists to kind of be a little bit more aware of these things. Go ahead.
No,
Bass.
for sure. How do you, when it is something that's within your realm of being able to decide who is the openers, who is the people that are going to be part of that bill and accentuate the show, how do you balance the need to break even and be in the black or even make a profit with the desire to give shots to people, to manage what you see as talent and say, oh, this
The
person.
guys who get on the most with me are the guys that are mostly in my ear. The guys that are not really in my ear, I forget about them.
Elaborate for us.
It's like out of mind, out of sight. But if you're always in my ear, you're always around me, I see you everywhere, you're talking to me, you're politicking with me. When that time comes and I have the ability to put you on, then I will think of you. There's a critical moment between me getting the show and me announcing the show. And depending on the artists that I'm working with, major artists, will determine if I have the ability to add support acts on. And it's usually those who are in my ear. If they're not in my ear, I'm not going to remember.
DMing you, following up with
Yeah,
you, pushing,
kicking them with
pushing.
me. I see them out of different things. Yo, how you doing, man? You know what I mean? You listen to my music. Did you this, that? Or, sometimes I don't even hear the music.
It's just that relationship.
It's just that relationship of seeing them all the time and kicking it with them and seeing that they're putting in the work on the street. Right? Some people have this entitlement.
Yes, that's
where they feel like they're entitled
100%.
because they go and they spend their money in the studio, they smoke their weed and they write and they come up with their things and they feel like because they did that, we owe them something.
Talk about it, man.
And we don't owe them shit.
Say it again, bro. Oh man.
That's just the name of the game. You know what I mean? Just as much as I get punked off, they're gonna get punked off too. Now those who are smart and know how to politic and get around the action, usually those are the ones who get picked up. If you look at a lot of the greatest songs that were ever made, it's because guys who were just hanging around the studio.
True. Threw an award right there.
Right? Yeah, I need a guy can you do that for me right now? Sure,
Yeah, like
boom,
yo, you
boom.
can sing. All right, yo, come.
Yeah, yeah. Just by hanging.
Yeah.
Those are the ones who get the trimmings.
Straight up.
The ones that are sitting at home waiting for the call to somebody to have them come into the place, guess what? They're missing all the action. The ones that sit in that fucking studio and just hang on and are willing to be a fly on the wall, usually those are the ones who get to land on the meal.
It's another reel right there, bro.
It's bars.
We got a lot of reels out of this, man.
It's bars.
Honestly, I think the art is, if you can call it that, the art of just establishing a human connection with people is something that has lost a little bit on us. You know what I mean?
100% agree with
and
you on that.
you actually talk about that a lot. Just like, first of all, like just saying yes to things, which is something I kind of have a problem with, so I'm working on it. Saying yes to things, but just being present and again, just making that human connection with people is super important. And
Putting a name to your face and putting an energetic connection with people, because also, I mean, this is how this is how you came up. This is the work that you put in to go from promoting
hand.
friends, DJs and parties to eventually doing the events and the venues and bringing out of town. That's it. You did this by being out there.
And there are artists that I've put on that basically got very little visibility out there, But because I heard that they're going to be working on a deal to get on the record label, or they're working to get with some big producer, and they need to get on my stage in order to do the show, because it's going to help them to secure whatever deal that they got lined up. And I hear through the streets that, this guy's the chosen one. This is the guy who's going to turn it out. You need to give him that shot. Then I'll make it happen.
Again,
But-
it's creating the demand. The demand is there.
But, that doesn't happen often. And that's because there's no evolution. There's no graduation. You're stuck in high school.
Yeah, it comes back to what we talked about originally.
You need to be able to, because real radio never gave you the shine and gave you accessibility. So now I could turn around and I could say to that artist or artist management or agent, say, yo, this guy went gold in Canada. What are you talking about? We need to put him on.
Yeah, exactly. Numbers.
Okay, let's do that.
I think out of anyone that I maybe have ever interacted within this culture, I think you might be one of the people who might be best to respond to what I call mascot theory, which is my theory as to why we haven't had an artist, quote unquote, blow up, which is that everyone wants to be the Kendrick of TDE. Everyone wants to be the Eminem. Everyone wants to be the Snoop. Nobody wants to be the J-Rock or the D12 or the Obi Trice. People don't want to be the side they want to be the main character all the time. And sometimes you either don't have the demographic for that or you don't have the talent to be that person.
I think that everybody evolves, right? There's not one rapper or singer that didn't sound like somebody. No matter where you are, what happens is that what separates you from sounding like those people is the fans that you bring onto you. And eventually your fans will give you your uniqueness. That's just what it is. So if you're ready to elevate, that's what it takes. That's where the uniqueness comes from. It's your fans. Everybody sounds like somebody. There's not one rapper out there that doesn't sound like somebody.
Well, I mean, nowadays everybody sounds like the same person. If we're being honest, right?
It was even worse at one moment. Now it's, you know what I mean? Especially, and that's why you see there's a resurgence of the boom bap of the 90s and everything, because artists were much more unique because there wasn't too many guys getting in the lane. The lane was reserved for those who, for one reason or another, got into the lane and made it to the top. Well, now the lanes are all clogged up with everybody screaming at the top of their voices, trying to get recognized, and only a few, for whatever reason, and even if they're at the top, they still don't get the shine. It's more than that. There's something that separates these people. Whatever it is, I don't know. But now these days, you can have 1 million people all trying to do the same thing. Not everybody's going to become a winner, no matter how much you put into it. So that's how I view things.
It's heavy.
Yeah. If I may take it back to the events we were talking about when you first got into the game, there was no blueprint. You didn't know about the criminal records and stuff like that. The first show, the Run-DMC show, did it go off without a hitch, or?
No, it was a disaster. We had a snowstorm. They left New York City. There's a snowstorm between New York and Montreal.
Adirondacks, man, this shit gets
And
dicey.
once they left New York, we didn't know where they were because remember, it was
no
all
cell
pager.
phones.
No cell phones.
Yeah.
So we were waiting for them at the old 1234.
Wow.
Right, and
Shout out to Danny's Pizza.
We were waiting for them to come, and I remember, man, it must have been about 3 or 4 feet of snow. It was fucking a lot of snow, and we didn't have a good turnout because of the snowstorm. They made it. They performed. We paid them. We lost money, and then we went. At that time, there used to be a Harvey's on St. Catherine and Drummond. And we all went there after that and talked with them. They went to their hotels. And then they went home the next day. But they made it.
Yeah.
Made it, they got paid.
But, but unfortunately, the fans didn't come out.
Huh.
They didn't come out because it was
Blizzard
it was a
outside.
blizzard.
Welcome to Montreal.
But you obviously kept pushing, kept moving, kept. What was the time? What was the show? What was the artist? What was the moment where you're like, you know what, like, okay, I'm in the right space? Because at some point, this came out of necessity of wanting to be a part of the culture. I didn't DJ, I didn't sing, I didn't rap, but at some point you had the moment of like gratification and of vindication and of being like, yo, like, what was that? What was who was that artist? What was that event?
There was no real one particular event. It was just, young black kid from Little Burgundy, didn't have much, grew up, just myself. My mother raised me, my father wasn't around. And these shows and these parties was something that gave me a feeling of accomplishment. Yeah, that's what it was. To complete this show and to make it happen was the best feeling in the world. From a guy who in society didn't mean much. So, for me to put that sweat equity in and to go out there and grind every day and to meet people and to hand out these flyers and to build my relationships and then to watch these children I birthed, these babies I birthed, some of them grew into beautiful human beings. Some of them never made it out of the mother's womb. They were just that bad. But most of them, I was very blessed to be able to have a lot of my events be successful. But like I told you, when it came to shows, dealing with, the criminal elements, dealing with the gangs, dealing with all of this, I never really hit my true potential financially in it. And then when it was time for me to eat off of this,
Everybody else comes in.
they all came in and took it. But that's okay. I ain't mad at the situation. That's just the way. I had great experiences, a lot of fun. I made some money during that time, helped my kids out, put them through private school. Now they good. You know what I mean? I'm all right.
Yeah, I mean,
but-
you accomplished. Listen, that's
Yeah.
as a father, you accomplished what you needed to
Yeah,
accomplish right there. I
you know?
commend you on that, bro.
So you know what I mean? But remember, coming from city housing,
Yeah,
living in these apartments with not too many options, I took what was available to me. And that was what was available to me. Okay? Like I said, I wasn't a mathematician. I wasn't a musician. I didn't have great writing skills. I was just a guy who was a great hustler who took my hustle to another level.
Gift of gab, baby.
And just, put the work in. I always believed that, the harder you work, the luckier you get.
I love that line. The harder you work, the luckier you get.
Yeah.
That's a fact, because luck is opportunity meets
Exactly.
preparation,
Exactly.
right?
That's right. So that's how I worked. So I always put in the work, right? Because I always believed that if you put in the work, fame and then fortune will follow. If I'm the best street sweeper or I'm the best at mopping, and you come in and you see how well I mop, And you said, damn, you did that really good. That's the fame. And you say, you know what? I'd like to hire you. How much you want? That's the fortune. But if you don't put the work in, how are you going to get the fame and then the fortune?
It's not gonna fall in your lap.
It doesn't necessarily come out that way. So that's what happened with me, you know what I mean? Now I was ready to get the fortune, but it just didn't work out that way. That's life. I still, you know, I'm not saying I was destitute, but I didn't get the paper the way I was supposed to get. Also, too, I was young. I didn't look at it as a real business. I took it as a side hobby to whatever I was doing also. That's another thing. I didn't build it like a real business, and, you know, it was just something that we just loved to do, and we just did it, you know. When artist was coming out with a new record, oh yeah? Well, boom. We make the calls in New York, make the calls to Beverly Hills, make the calls to France, you know, hey, try to get the artists. A lot of times we had no problems, or they were calling us at one time because, like I told you, the Evenkos of the world didn't want to fuck with it. The Live Nations of the world didn't want to fuck with it because it was just too volatile, too dangerous for them. They didn't want to lose their reputation and all that on some gunplay and all that. Well, we were street. We were in there in the rooms with the guys who had the guns, dealing with them, politicking with them, and, you know, trying to make those situations go away. Eventually we did, through our grit. But, you know, but like anything, right? Somebody else has another agenda, you know? So.
It's drawing parallels to legalization of weed right now. You know what I mean? Every time you're talking about this, he just stepped in and took over the game.
I mean, that's what these companies do at the end of the day, man. They see a viable product that is a little bit too volatile for the market at this given moment, but as soon as that motherfucker opens up and is accessible to the masses, we're gonna swoop in and we're gonna take the envelope. It's business.
So, you know, I still do what I do because they can't have a monopoly.
Yeah. And that's really important.
They can't grab everything.
Yeah.
There will be things that will drop. And I just got to be in a position to pick it up.
Facts.
So I do what I got to do for now until I get to the point where I can't do it anymore.
But it's also very important from the standpoint of the authenticity of culture to have somebody of the culture who's in that position as well. Because if it ever was to become the complete monopoly, already hip hop has been corporatized enough as it is, let's be honest, right? So any inkling of true authentic culture that we can cling to, whether it's promoters, artists, whatever the case may be, it's important for you guys to still be in place.
Hip hop is going back to the gods.
Yeah.
It's returning back to the gods. Understand that.
I hope you're right, bro.
No, I am right.
Everything goes full circle, bro.
Watch what's going on right now. Hip hop is not even breaking into Billboard right now. Okay? People are looking for the new bag. So, you know, hip hop will return to the gods. These guys will lose more and more interest in hip hop because it's not going to be the cash cow that it once was before. Guys are not making, a lot of rap artists now are starting to realize the reality that they can't get the kind of money that they once were getting before. And there's only so much you can squeeze from the promoter before the promoter tells you, sorry, man, I can't afford you. And unless these artists are willing to get out there and to put the money behind themselves,
It's not gonna work.
it's not going to work.
It's so funny that you say that because I've wanted to ask you about something that is kind of, I don't know if I could use the word controversial in our culture, in our scene. What do you think, what is your view, what is your feelings towards when I say pay to play? If I'm an artist and I want to open up and I know you're bringing in, let's just use Ghostface because we've been using his name, and I hit Rickey D and I say, yo, I'll buy 50 tickets to the show right now, and I'll just go and I'll sell them, and I'll make whatever profit back or try to break even. But I want to be an opening act.
Pay to play is something that's been in existence in hip hop forever. If not here in America, you can't go to any of these stations. You can't go to a Funk Flex and think you're just gonna give him your record, and you ain't gonna give him some grip in his pocket. It's always been around. The difference is you had record labels who was doing it for you.
That's the key.
So you never seen it coming out of your pocket directly, even though ultimately it was. Because
You got to recoup. Yeah.
It's
You
coming
gotta
out that
recoup.
advance.
And I gotta go and I gotta give Joe Budden 100,000 in order for him to sit down there so you can get, his millions of viewers.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? You're gonna pay to play. If you want to get, what do you think when you go out on these tours and you got Jay-Z's there, and Jay-Z got an artist like Memphis Bleak? You don't think Memphis Bleak is paying? They all pay. It's a business. Guys get into this sense of entitlement because they figured that their investment was met. At the end of the day, when you're an artist, say you come and you perform for me, you do well, you make money. Next minute you're working with him. Next minute you're working with him. Where the fuck am I? It's a business. Guys gotta take their emotions out of it and realize this is what separates men from boys, is the money. A man will pay, a boy will complain.
We got bars all day in this episode, I'm telling you.
Saying it, man, it's real talk. Men will pay, because they understand that's the real game.
That's what makes shit move.
Yeah. It's none of this, man. Well, you sit down there, my G, and you figure it out. Me,
Put your money where your
I'm
mouth
gonna
is.
go and take that bag. I'm gonna put that bag in there so I can go and take that money, put it back in my pocket eventually, and feed my family. While you pursue your dream to the top. Because when you hit the top, you think Drake remembers who the fuck I am? Even though I was doing his first shows, when he came up to the fucking Metropolis and went afterwards and I'm there kicking away and chopping? You think Tory Lanez remembers me when I did his first show? Motherfuckers don't remember me. Who the fuck are you? That's right. Because that's the name of the game. So what am I going to do? Sit up this, oh, man, well, I did your show. And, now look, man, now you don't even remember who I am. Why are you giving it to a Venko when you could give it to me? Everybody's a whore. Straight up. That's why I don't get mad. Because we're all whores when it really comes down to it. You see it every day, man. You see it. You see it in the industry is designed to be predatory. It's just the way that the game was designed. So pay to play is a reality. It's still to this day. You go to any major situation, if you don't come with a grip, you better be having some serious fire.
Yeah.
Right? Because at the end of the day, they all understand. I got 10 guys that can do what you can do. What the fuck makes you different from them? The money. That's why I say that's where a man and a boy is different. The man comes with the money and says, you know what? Fuck it here. because I believe in me. I know what I can do.
I'll
So
sell
let
those
me
50
get up
tickets.
there. Not even that. I come and I give you that $500, that $1,000. I give you whatever I gotta get. Boom. Get me on that stage, motherfucker. When I get up there, I'm gonna show everybody what I'm about. Separates the men from the boys, the sheep from the shepherd.
And I think it's a fine line when it comes to paying. I want to sell 50 tickets. Let me get on the show. That's 50 tickets that you can actually sell and get your bread.
Called show business.
Can't sell your tickets. It's on you, man.
Even if you can't, you know what I mean? Like, all that, at the end of the day, if you can't even sell 50 tickets, that means that, what you doing? You ain't got 50 people out there that are willing to come and see you? So what have you been doing? Sitting up there in the studio?
Yeah.
Smoking weed, getting delusional, thinking that somebody owes you something? Well, you know what? When they do that, right, they just end up missing the boat.
And that is the story of so many artists from, you know what? I don't want to make it a Montreal thing because it's not a Montreal thing. It's so many artists, period. Man, I'm so glad we had this conversation, Ricky, bro.
People get frustrated because I get it. I get the artist perspective, you know. You sit up there and you put so much into it. You know, you sit up there, you come up with your concept, you do your own writing. That takes time. You go to the studios, you pay for the time in the studios. You invest in it. You're buying clothes. You're trying to, you know, be fashion forward. You're smoking a lot of weed, a lot of drugs, trying to get you to a certain level in your writing because you think that this is all part of the creative process. I get the investment that the artist puts into themselves that makes them think that they should be entitled to that. Right. But there's a little bit more that they ain't seeing. And when they start to see that, that's usually the difference. Obviously, you need to have the talent. When you have the talent and the word gets out there on the streets and kids start to follow you, then you don't have to sell 50 tickets. Why?
Sell themselves.
Just you being on it,
The demand is there. Yeah.
will bring those 50 people without you having to sell them physically one ticket at a time. But you need to like, you know, get yourself to that point, right? Where your name carries some clout on the streets and that these kids are willing to follow you.
I'm hearing that there's a lot of accountability from artists that is not being taken.
100%.
They're not because at the end of the day, they're so wrapped up in their own little world of getting what they got to get for themselves, but they don't realize is that just because you make that investment into yourself doesn't mean that I'm going to be sharing it with you. That's your investment. You see what I'm saying? Like at the end of the day, we could chop bread and chop it up right now, but afterwards, you could fuck with him, fuck with him, fuck with him. You're fucking with all kinds of people trying to get put on. You get put on, it doesn't mean you're going to come back and bless me. It depends on where I came about in your life and if I gave you that opportunity at that critical moment that allows you to get to that next level. Yeah, you might remember, or you might not. Artists tend to be very selfish in terms of it's about them. It's about them and what they put into them. So now when somebody is not willing to give them what they want, they're mad. They're frustrated.
Yep.
Because they thought that they should have gotten it because they got the skill set. They spend hours in the studio, doing this and doing that.
They paid for the beat.
Right,
They paid the
for
videographer.
That's right. So by virtue of doing that, they're owed something. But nobody told them to go and do that. That's on them.
That's a fact, bro.
So real.
It feels like a lot
That's
of
so
artists-
real.
It's on them. So what the fuck?
Yep. No, it's true. It's a fact. And honestly, like, it's something that I tell my sons on a very regular basis to kind of prepare them. They're still young, but to prepare them, for later on in life is that I phrase it a little bit better than this, but nobody owes you a motherfucking favor in this world. There's nobody waiting around to give you an opportunity. There's nobody waiting around to hand you a bag. There's nobody waiting around to do you a fucking favor in life. You got to put in the work, and you got to make you, as an artist, speaking specifically to this conversation, you got to make yourself that guy. It's your responsibility. It's not nobody else's responsibility.
So fellas, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Pay to play, I always loved it because it allowed me to see the difference.
Who was serious about it? Put your money where your mouth is. Step up to what you really want.
Right. Those who don't do that,
It's a hobby.
they're not serious. They're serious about all the other things, but they're not serious about what they really need to do to get to the level that they need to get to. Who knows why they're doing it? Maybe it's to fuck bitches. Maybe it's because they're a fiend and they just like to get high, and it just gives them an excuse to get high. Maybe they just like all of that, but they don't really have no real intentions of elevating. They just want to, dilly-dally, waste other people's time and all of that shit.
You want to be in the vibe. You want to be a part of it, but you don't want that. You don't want what comes with it.
Right. You don't want to, anything that's worth in life is not free. Nothing in life that's worth something is free. And when people take that out of their mentality, out of their minds, they're the ones who are going to end up succeeding. Because only the ones that understand that are the ones who go the furthest. The rest of them don't. Okay, fellas.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay,
Anything else you got for me?
Yeah,
there?
man.
We're getting to that time of the night.
Getting to that
But
time
I
to
have
wrap it
one
up, for
thing
sure.
I wanted to
Okay.
ask before we get out of here.
Okay, cool.
You've brought countless artists down to Montreal.
Yeah.
I've also dabbled a little bit in booking some shows. I know Perry Papadagos pretty well. And,
Yeah, that's my guy, Perry.
and we've seen some strange writers
Okay.
coming in. Have you ever seen something that just like you looked at it and you're like, this
Well,
is just
I
ridiculous?
had Method Man one time ask me for a pair of Air Force Ones, white, and I told his manager, "I'm not getting you those." It was in his rider. And his manager laughed and said, "Yeah, we just put that in there to see."
Trying to finesse a pair of everyone.
Like, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna buy you a pair. What am I now?
Yeah, for real.
What am I now? Like, well, am I
Store
your
runner.
trick? Am I your trick now? Or you got me? You tricking me out? Yeah, nah. You go get your own running shoes. Yeah.
Store runner.
That's
That's funny.
James Ellis. That's a name for you.
Ricky, we have a segment that we do at the end of every show. We call it dropping a gem. So what I'm going to do, the whole episode was a
whole
gem, to be
episode.
fair. I
The
don't
whole
really know
episode.
what more you could add at this point, but look, I'll preface it with this. I'll place the gem in front of you, bro.
Condense it into.
Yeah, I mean, look, let's do it from this standpoint, right? Again, if there's an artist watching who's on the come up and they kind of want to know, or you know what, fuck all that. What's just a gem, anything that comes to mind to help somebody advance, whether it's music, just in life, in their career, whatever comes to mind. I mean, you think you kind of said it all already, but
If
you
there
have
was
anything else,
one thing that you could really
gem
leave with the
drop, bro.
people,
Yeah.
dropping a gem on their head tops.
you can there's different levels to this game. You come out, do it first for the love of the music.
Yeah.
Do it for the love of the creativity of the music. As you evolve and become better at it, then you can expand your desires to do more and more things. It's not an easy time to be in this music game. It's not an easy time, but there are still some winners out there. Maybe you might be that one. Maybe you won't.
Got him.
Bars.
Gem drop.
Bars, man.
Rickey,
Bars, man. We want to thank you.
Thank you for coming
Yeah,
on the
cool,
show. It was
man.
an honor. This, like I said, this is an interview I've been wanting to do for a very long time. I speak for the rest of the table.
sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, Rickey D, Montreal legend, pioneer. We want to give him his flowers, and we want to thank you for everything you've done for the scene, man. Hustle Podcast.
Thank you, man.
We out.
I only do this for real hip hop. If I don't, a lot of people come to me
Yeah.
and have asked me onto these types of shows, and I don't do it.
I was taking a chance with the message. I knew it at the time.
No,
knew it at the
I
time.
I knew you. Yeah. I knew what you were about, and I've known you for years. You know, unfortunately, I don't know you guys as well.
Oh no, it's all good. It's all good. We're
I know
gonna
you.
politic for sure.
So you know, and I know you've always been committed to hip hop, and you've always been a fan and a student of that lifestyle and that game and that passion for it. So for me to come out and to do this, and normally I just say no. Because, you know, a lot of times a lot of guys are corny as fuck. And I don't want to, you know, get myself caught up in that.
Yeah, no kidding.
You know what I mean? And I don't come, you know, it ain't a money thing. It had nothing to do with that. I just come because any man who could sit up here and spend hours doing something that they could do something else, they got my attention.
Welcome to the hustle. If your whole life was a struggle, had to make it out the jungle, this is a show for you. Welcome to the hustle. Under pressure, never break or fold. Keep chasing your goals until you blow.